We are less than 2 weeks away from the NFL trade deadline coming up on Tuesday, November 5th, and there's a lot of big names for the Jacksonville Jaguars being floated around on the rumor mill right now, and one of the biggest, and the subject for our video today, is running back Travis Etienne. He is a guy that Jaguars fans love, but this is also an opportunity where you look at Etienne's trade value, and you're talking about peak trade value for a running back with a year and a half on his rookie deal, 25 years old. And so this is the offer that I think I would like best for the Jags, like best as a win for Etienne as well, and potentially a win for the other team, which I'm going to say is the Dallas Cowboys. So here is the potential trade offer. I'm going to drop it in the comments, but let me know your thoughts, Jags fans, Cowboys fans, Etienne fans. But here is the deal. I have the Jaguars sending running back Travis Etienne, and the Seattle Seahawks 2025 sixth-round pick, the pick they got for the Gibson trade before the season. So Etienne, a sixth-round pick, and the Cowboys send in return their third-round pick in the 2025 draft. And so I think looking at Etienne's trade value right now, realistically, it falls somewhere between a third and fourth round pick. The Jag Bros posted this on Twitter, and that seemed to be about the consensus. Yes, there's some Jags fans saying, hey, we're not taking any calls unless we get a first round pick for Etienne. Well, guess what? Nobody's calling. Nobody's giving a first round pick for Etienne. There was one offer that floated around in 2026. I think it was like Bleacher Report or someone, second round pick for Etienne, but even that feels a tad bit steep because Etienne right now has a lot of pros, but also several cons as well. The pros are this is a late first round draft pick out of Clemson. He's put together back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with, hey, let's be real, a less than average, a below average offensive line. His career yards per carry is 4.4 yards per carry. He's a very good receiving back, averaging 300 to 400 yards a season there. And there were several points in 2023 with a horrendous offensive line that he was actually leading the entire league in yards after contact. So he can make big plays. He's made a lot of big plays for the Jaguars. I hate to see it. I hate to see some of this Jaguars core potentially broken up over the trade deadline. But that's the reality of when you have high expectations saying this is the best team ever and you're 2-5 and the next 5 games don't look, but the Jags are underdogs in all 5 games and could easily go 1-4. And honestly would not be shocked if they go 0-5 because the Jaguars haven't beaten a good team in nearly a year, last November in Houston. The only wins we've had is last season, home against Carolina, home against the Colts this year where we barely held on, and a home London game against a terrible Patriots team. So going up against 5 playoff teams, this could get ugly fast. But here's why this is a win for the Cowboys and why I think the Cowboys would do a deal like this. First off, Travis Etienne would be an answer to them at running back for the short term and potentially the long term. Again, you have him for another year and a half. He would clearly come in and be RB1 for the Cowboys, who are last in pretty much every running statistic. Here's just a few. The Cowboys are currently dead last in rush attempts at 133. And you may be saying, hey, well, that's not fair. They've already had their bye. Well, some of these stats, they are so far behind it wouldn't matter. Like the next closest team is more than 20 attempts at 31st. They're last in yards per carry at 3.5. They're last in the longest run they've had this season at just 13 yards. And they're last in total rushing yards by more than 100 rushing yards. So again, even if they had that extra game, they would still be in last place. So getting a guy like Etienne automatically puts him in as RB1. He's going to easily jump Dowdle. And, especially for where Zeke is at in this point in his career, I think Etienne and Zeke would complement each other pretty well. Where Etienne, of course, is going to stay that third and short, fourth and short goal line back, and Etienne can be that guy who's getting you yards on first down, second down, and then being a receiving back for you on third and long situations. And the reality, too, is the Cowboys, there's a ton of pressure on them. They're sitting there at 3-3. Jerry Jones is yelling at his radio host right now just because they've spent a ton of money. Dak is the highest paid quarterback. They spend a lot of money on CeeDee Lamb. Cowboys fans always think it's their year. And At 3-3, even though they've gotten blown out in several games, they're still not out of it. The NFC East is wide open in some ways. You have the Giants who are free falling, where Daniel Jones hasn't thrown a touchdown in his home stadium in more than a year and a half, which is a crazy stat. You have the Eagles, who are, 4-2, but Nick Sirianni is screaming at his fans. Seems like he could lose the locker room any day. Just a crazy, volatile situation. And then the Commanders, who, are really hot. We're already seeing Jaden Daniels. Some of the critique about him is that he's got a lighter, thinner frame and could struggle with injuries. Well, we're 7 weeks in, and we're already starting to see him struggle with some injuries. So can they keep that hot streak up, or do they come back down to earth a little bit? Getting another weapon for Dak, where he's really only got CeeDee Lamb right now, at least brings a little bit more excitement. At least you can say, hey, we're making moves where the Cowboys typically don't make a lot of moves like this, but they alleviate some of that pressure in the short term. And there is potential if Etienne balls out. We know that the Cowboys like to overpay running backs, which is why this is a win for Etienne, because he can go in and be the guaranteed RB1. He gets a lot of spotlight. If he can go and tear it up for the Cowboys, he's going to get paid, where it seems pretty obvious at this point the Jags don't have an interest in moving long-term on with Etienne and paying him a lot of money in that second contract. Here's why the Jaguars do this deal, why I think it couldn't be a win for them. Several reasons, but number one has got to be the play of Tank Bigsby. He dominated a huge game against the Patriots. Yes, it is the Patriots, but still was great to see it. Over 100 yards, running hard, running through people, two touchdowns in that game. And throughout this season, he has put on 415 yards, 6.2 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. He's only 23 years old. Clearly taking a big step in year 2, and you hope and you cheer and you bank on him continuing to take steps as he gets older and mature and just continues to craft and work on his game. Dearness Johnson could be your RB2. He's a solid, seasoned veteran. He's played fine enough for the Jags. He had a nice game against New England as well. He's good at pass pro from the running back position. And then there's a guy that the Jags like, that I like as well on their practice squad, Jalen Jackson. He can be a young guy that you call up, and he is RB3 for the Jags. Reason number 2, again, Etienne, this is peak trade value. If you wait till the end of the season, till the offseason, Tank dominates and Etienne becomes the clear RB2, you have one less year on the contract. You're talking about potentially Etienne falling from a 3rd, 4th round draft pick to really more of a 5th or even 6th round pick. And so this is a peak trade value. And if the bottom falls out for the Cowboys, you're talking about a 3rd round pick that could be a top 75 pick in this draft. And the Jags would have 3 3rd round picks, which hopefully by then Balky is not picking, but you give yourself a lot of ammunition for someone not named Balky, because he doesn't make moves in the draft. Someone not named Balky to use all these extra draft capitals, make big moves, and go and get the players that you like high up in the draft. And then the last reason, this pains me to say, but it's pretty clear right now, the Jags front office and coaching staff are at a war against each other. The right hand and the left hand keep seeming to go in opposite directions, where it feels pretty obvious. Peterson did not want Roy Robertson Harris traded. Balky wanted him traded so that Mason Smith gets more playing time. What does Peterson do? He gives a healthy scratch to Mason Smith for a second time. A top 50 pick is not even on the field, not even suited up for the Jags through 7 weeks. That's a bad move, and I'm guessing Balky would definitely want Bigsby getting the majority. He's killing it. He's crushing it. He's the young guy. He's the up-and-coming guy. And Peterson keeps doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on Etienne as RB1, Etienne as RB1, Etienne as RB1. What does Balky typically do in this situation? He undercuts the coach, and he makes a move like this. But even a move like this, I still think could be a win for the Jags, especially if we get a new general manager. But let me know your thoughts. Again, Jags fans, would you do this deal? Let me recap it again. Jackson, Etienne, and a 6th-round pick. They receive and return the Cowboys' 3rd-round pick. Jags, would you make this move? Etienne fans, do you make this move? Cowboys fans, would you be cheering and excited about a move like this? I think this could be a little bit painful for each team, but I think that means it's a pretty good trade deal for each team. Jags fans, if you want me to cover some other trades, trade opportunities, trade potentials in the next couple days and weeks leading up to the deadline, let me know. Drop in the comments. Make sure you hit subscribe so you catch all of those videos. But there's some other names being floated around right now. Christian Kirk, Andre Cisco, Walker Little, some other guys on the Jags roster, Cam Robinson. Let me know who you want me to cover, whether or not I think we'll trade them or not. I would say at Etienne right now, it feels like a coin flip, feels like 50-50. Could go either way. I don't think the Jags will sell Etienne for cheap, but if they get a good deal, a right deal like this, I do think they pull the trigger. But we're going to find out very, very soon. It's going to be some exciting, crazy days to see what the Jaguars do. Do they make moves at the trade deadline?